Hi everyone! So I had a doll arrive home on the last day of the year, so technically it is the last doll of 2021, but for the sake of simplicity, this will be the first doll of 2022. As you will probably already know from the title, it is a Dollshe Diana on the 16F body in the resin color Oriental. I purchased this doll secondhand because, as I've mentioned before, I'm unwilling to wait multiple years for a doll, specifically since doll plans can change in that time. I imagine the seller was in a similar place, and then the original plans that they had shifted by the time that this doll arrived. From what I understand, this is the special package for Diana. The body per Dollshe's website is called the Classic Maxi Pose body, which is the 16F body without the waist joint. The doll is 61 centimeters tall and comes with 3 types of heads, 3 sets of hands, and 3 sets of feet, as well as 2 types of busts. The original owner elected to have the doll shipped unstrung. Based on what others have mentioned, Dollshe basically cites that since the rates for shipping has gone up, if recipients want the doll strung and shipped, they would need to pay an additional amount for the shipping. Given how long most people have waited for their Dollshe dolls, most people are probably a mix of anger and dismay at paying more to get their dolls. So I completely understand getting the doll unstrung. I'm not deterred by needing to string or restring a doll, but I recognize that not everyone has the same disposition. I will say that Dollshe sculpts beautiful bodies and are far more proportional to how humans are anatomically built than even other quote-unquote realistic sculpted bodies. I appreciate that both busts have the breasts lay more naturally, and even the full bust is a smaller cup size than most companies' smalls. Another aspect that I appreciate is that the thigh of the doll is actually longer than the shin. The femur is the longest bone in the human body. When I fully bend the legs of most of my dolls, the ankle always hits way longer than humanly possible. Speaking of shins and shin pieces, I learned through another collector that they reinforce their shin pieces before stringing their 16F body. I didn't know much about this issue, but after some searching, there are a number of owners where their Dollshe shins have cracked just to the tension created by the elastic after the doll was strung. Having never done an additive mod, I decided to use my epoxy sculpt for the first time to try to tackle making the shin pieces stronger. You can see here when I shine a flashlight at where the knee peanut sits, so much light is visible, revealing how thin the resin is. It's easy to see how there are many cracked Dollshe shins. So my plan here is to use the knee peanut covered in plastic wrap to help shape the putty within the shin piece. I didn't want to add too much where the knee wasn't functional because the tolerance between the two pieces is not very forgiving. I mixed the 2-part epoxy sculpt, and this being my first time, I mixed way too much. Not that this would have affected how much I portioned out because I'm inexperienced, but I failed to account that the volume would be for both parts put together. In my mind, somehow one would consume the other. I'm not quite sure, but now I know mixing more is just fine. Epoxy sculpt has a fairly long lead time before it gets hard, so if I run out, mixing more will not ruin the project. I rubbed the putty with water with my fingers to help smooth the surface. I'm not sure if it was effective since the plastic wrap left some wrinkles in the putty. I just did the fitting several times to make sure the peanut would still fit. I could have probably sanded the putty down after it cured if there was too much, but let's be honest, sanding is such a chore. I ended up shaping my excess putty into some random shapes. I tested the flashlight on the shins and there is visible improvement, but it's still on the thinner side. Here is a photo of the dried putty in the shins. So then the final thing to do is to string the doll together. I did a hot glue suede on the sockets before recording the stringing. I also have a bunch of tools, but do not necessarily use all of them. I'm using ribbon as my tool to get the elastic through the channels. One thing I want to highlight is that I used the elastic that Dollshe supplied that was intended for the body for the arms, and I used my own thicker elastic for the body. The included elastic for the arms I was told was not strong enough to hold the weight of the resin. So if you're buying your own, the diameter of the elastic I used for the arms are 3.5 millimeters and about 4.5 millimeters for the body. One way I've measured the amount of elastic needed for the arm is to do about 1.5 times the length of the arm when the elastic is folded over. Again, if I mess up the tension, I can always retie the knot, but it's a good starting point. I snipped off the frayed elastic and sealed it with a flame. Then I started stringing one side. I do my best throughout the process to keep the knot in the cavity of the bust. This elastic is pretty thick for the elbow peanut channel, so it takes a little effort to get it through. I try to make sure the elastic doesn't twist over itself. The first hand and S hook go on really easily because there's a good amount of slack. I adjust the tension a bit since the elbow peanut is holding onto the elastic. Stringing the second arm is much the same, except there is more tension. So I use the help of a small wooden stick to hold the elastic so I don't have to hold it while trying to get the S-hook on. Then I adjust the tension to make them even on both sides. Next is the body elastic. I prefer to have my knot in the torso or bust piece, so when I pull my elastic, I pull the knotted part so that it's just left or right of the center, and then fold over, trying to make sure the tension and length of both sides are even. I pulled that point through the neck and tried to keep the elastic from twisting. Anchor it with the large S-hook. One thing to note about this body is that you cannot pull the S-hook through the hole for any of the Dollshe Diana heads for the S-hook that's supplied. You will need to use a smaller hook or reshape the one that came with the body. Then I pull through one leg at a time, just like the arms. Since the tension is being held at the neck, I make use of my wooden stick to help get the feet on for both sides. It took me about 25 minutes to string this doll, and the footage is about 50% faster. My suggestion is to take your time, go slow, and ask for help from someone else if available. Sometimes you just need an extra pair of hands. I tested out a few poses, and the tension seems to be tight enough for it to hold the resin up. So hopefully this video was helpful to someone. If you are waiting for a Dollshe doll, I wish you the best of luck. You are far braver and more patient than I am. Anyway, that's all for this week. Have a good one. Take care. Bye.